Good morning and welcome to Literacy Fast Track. I'm Mario Cortes, and today I want to cover the question, why is it that we have a functional illiteracy rate in Australia of a whopping 44%? Now, I'm a curious kind of guy, and I just wanted to go back and see what has happened, what has changed to create such a tragedy. So I want to start at home. Parents today are not reading to their children enough. So the children don't have the pre-reading skills that they require before they enter school. Abilities such as recognizing letters, recognizing short words. Also, the parents aren't seeing reading by their children. So the children have got no role models of somebody, an adult, reading for pleasure, for instance. Now, let me point to school. Number one, we've got new attitudes in schools. The attitude that came out of the soft approach in learning is what I call the Zen view of learning, which basically says when the student is ready, then the teacher appears. Now that sounds kind of cute, doesn't it? The problem with that kind of thinking is that when do you know when the child is ready? When is somebody ready for calculus? Do you get up one morning and say, wow, I'm finally ready to learn calculus? Well, no, it's not quite that simple. You learn it when it's part of the curriculum. In fact, some of us may never be ready until somebody gives us a friendly little nudge. Can you imagine the phone company telling you, you can pay your bill when you feel you're ready? Or the ATO saying, look, just pay your tax when you think you're ready to do so. Or closer to home, when is a child ready to walk? Learn to eat their vegetables, make their bed, brush their teeth. Some things just have to be encouraged. Number two, I believe that 100% literacy rates or reading and writing rates have not been a priority with schools. I've read of goals such as reducing the illiteracy rate of Indigenous students by 25%, but I have never seen a school boldly proclaim that we will have 100% reading rate or learning and literacy rates. I believe that reading is a skill like walking. It enables other things to happen later on. So, for instance, if you can walk, then you can go to work, you can go to the shop, you can hop on a bus. In the same way, reading opens up a whole new world of possibilities and learning for you. So, how many people do you expect, able-bodied people, do you expect to walk by the time they reach adulthood? Would you be happy if you had 50% of your children walking by the time they reach adulthood? No, of course not. Would you be happy with 70? What about 80%? What about 90% of all your children were able to walk by the time they reached adulthood? Would you be happy with that? Well, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what's been happening to our schools. You see, they have not set it as a priority. So, what happened with literacy training or literacy teaching? Well, we gave away a thing called phonetics, or phonics as it's called nowadays, as a strategy. Then, when we didn't get the results, or we got results that were less than 100%, we concluded that the students were somehow not ready, of course, or slow. And if they were slow, we put them in special schools where it really didn't matter whether they achieved 100% literacy rates or not. Now, some teachers of special schools may challenge me on this, but I've just got one question for you. Do you have 100% literacy rates? Okay. Well, that answers my question. The trouble with schemes such as Gonski and others like that is that they believe that if they can throw more money at the problem, that the problem will go away. What about if the problem isn't money, but method? What if we're using a faulty assumption, a faulty methodology, or even a faulty approach? A teacher found that after she'd learnt about a thing called VAK, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. In other words, that we learn in different ways. Some of us learn visually by sight, others learn by hearing, that's auditory, and kinesthetic people learn by touch or feel or doing. She found that all her bottom learners in the area of literacy were kinesthetic learners. In other words, they learned by doing. So here's a question for you, and you can answer it whichever way you want. Could it be that perhaps we're using the wrong approach? There is a strong body of scientific evidence that suggests that students are greatly assisted in learning to become proficient readers if their reading tuition is grounded in direct, explicit and systematic phonics instruction. That was Coulthard in 2005. Yet in 1992, the Commonwealth Government inquiry into literacy concluded the current approach to literacy learning in Australian schools focuses on the whole language or natural learning approach, otherwise known as constructivism. You know, Tasmanian reading researcher Byron Harrison noted that the national curriculum ignores phonics. There are no specific instructions on how to teach letter sounds, no talk of tracing or consolidation by practice. I find no mention of blending sounds into syllables or syllables into multisyllabic words, no attempt to control word length to match the still developing cognitive development of these critical years. No mention of graduated text with words selected to develop phonic skills. In other words, we are finding that what's missing in training and literacy teaching today is phonics. In other words, sounding out stuff. That's exactly what that means. You see, what we did is we gave away phonics and replaced it with the more enlightened whole language approach. Really, we shot ourselves in the foot. I've spoken to teachers who were working during the changeover period. There were inspectors who came in to check the schools, and teachers had to run around and hide all the phonetic charts and all the wall charts so that they thought they were teaching the new way. The question arises, if the new way didn't work, why didn't we go back to the old? Well, number one, pride. Number two, the new way wasn't totally bad. It worked. It just didn't work 100% of the time. So if it didn't work 100% of the time, we assumed that because maybe the students just weren't learning. Maybe they were dumb. Maybe they were slow. Or the fact is that some students will learn to read despite whatever method we use. In the 2005 Teaching Reading Report commissioned by the Howard government, it observed that many beginning teachers entered the classroom without a firm grounding in phonics, given the prevailing orthodoxy represented by whole language and what is known as constructivism. In other words, constructivism, or the whole language approach, holistic learning, it's got a whole bunch of other names, became so prevalent in schools that even today some of the teachers are going out there and not understanding the power and principle and simplicity of using sounds, which is phonics. So that's what got us into the mess. Now I'm here to get us out of it, and with the help of Tasmanian government initiative known as 2610, we're going to take you back to basics, and I look forward to working with you in some really interesting and fun ways of learning literacy. Thank you.